Thank you for joining us for this US Law Live episode. This podcast is brought to you by US Law's official corporate partners, SEA, American Legal Records, Arcadia Settlements Group, Immersion Legal, Marshall Investigative Group, and MDD Forensic Accountants. Thank you for your support and partnership. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of US Law Live, the official podcast of the US Law Network. My name is Jessica Dark. I'm with the Pierce Couch Law Firm in Oklahoma City, and I am joined with what I would say is my loveliest co-host, Ms. Pam Halford. How are you, Pam?
I'm doing very well. Thanks, Jessica. Pam Halford here from the Alabama law firm, Carr Allison. I am normally based in Dothan, Alabama, but today I am sitting beachside in Fort Morgan, Alabama, which is right outside of Gulf Shores. So everybody feels super duper jealous.
Well, Pam, I don't think this is the first time you've done a podcast from a beach location. Am I correct?
In fact, believe that I've done a podcast from Naples, Florida. I've done a podcast from Lake Martin, Alabama, although my technology kind of messed me up. Now I've done it here. I imagine I'll do one from Napa when I'm there with US Law next week. So I'm like your, not international, but like some sort of traveling podcast tour.
Well, it's good to know for all our guests and potential guests that they can podcast with us from wherever they happen to be. I've been in my house and in my office. Very, very thrilling locations, both of them.
Absolutely. Well, nobody will be jealous of my beach location, or nobody will be less jealous of my beach location, rather, than our lovely guest, Nichole, who is with Wicker Smith in Florida. Hi, Nichole.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me this afternoon. Yes, I am from Wicker Smith, the Tampa office. We have about 280 attorneys across 15 offices. But for the U.S. Law folks, those are mainly the central and south locations of Florida, to include Melbourne, Orlando, Tampa, Sarasota, Naples, West Palm, and Miami.
So there's never usually anything going on in Florida, according to the news and internet. So I'm surprised you guys have so many people. Just kidding.
Florida man is true to form down here.
Absolutely.
Lots
I tell you
of Florida
what,
men.
right. And the South Florida man is really spectacular. I have had a couple of cases where I've dealt with some South Florida lawyers who represented immigrants, and whew, that was tough stuff. So I feel like Nichole needs a beach and a cocktail more than anybody else.
Yes, it just depends on the day. I'm looking for a vacation anywhere at this point.
I bet you are. Nichole, tell her.
No,
Sorry.
You go ahead, Pam. We're so excited. We're so excited to hear from you, Nichole. Tell us about your background. Have you always been in Florida? How'd you get there? Tell us about your experience as a litigator.
Sure. So I actually was originally from Florida, but lived most of my life up north in New York. Came back here for law school, and I've been practicing for about 17 years at this point, mainly in medical malpractice. That's my specialty. I'm very direct at times, and have had to learn the Southern way to discuss things a little bit more.
That's interesting. Tell us a little bit about that, the differences between the South and the North. I'm sure everyone's had their own opinions, I know. But how have you seen that play out in litigation?
So in litigation, I tend to be super direct. So I don't really beat around the bush much. But what I've noticed is coming down here, what I needed to learn is you can't just go into someone's office and start, talking to them about the case. You need to talk a little bit first about, hey, what's going on in your life? How was your weekend? And you can mosey on into the discussion. You tend to get things better along that way.
Oh, I don't know. Pam, is that how you handle it down there in Alabama?
Well, I think Pam Holford is extraordinarily direct. And so most of the people down in like the Dothan, Alabama neck of the woods think that I'm a 5-letter word that I'm not allowed to say on the US Law podcast. Um, so yeah, I'm direct, and people don't love that about me in the South. Nichole, if I remember right, you do mostly med mal, is that correct?
I do. So my practice comprises both civil litigation as well as an administrative component that deals with the licensure. One of the reasons I was actually drawn to it is because I'm representing a human, and you can see the impact that you're having on them, because if they're sued civilly, there's likely going to be a complaint against their administrative license, either based off of the settlement itself or based off the person complaining to the Department of Health. And so the work that I do, I look at it this way. The healthcare providers are giving to us every day and doing their best to put us in our best position. And so I feel like it's my duty to help them and to help them keep their license.
You know, here in Alabama, med mal kind of was one of those like regular auto cases that med mal cases still try. Is that the way it is down in Florida too?
Yeah, there's a lot of med mal trials. I actually have a large one that's set to go in September over 4 weeks. And that's part of the hot topic for later today, because you're seeing a lot more types of practitioners that are sued and not just the doctors themselves.
Oh, that's very interesting. Um, Guys, FYI, before we started the podcast, I talked to these lovely ladies about the fact that here I am on vacation, but I'm planning to work and brought my computer ready to rock and roll, and then realized I don't have a charger. Guys, it's in my car. I specifically put it in the passenger seat next to me so that I wouldn't forget that the charger, and I never brought it up. So I have a charger. Yay!
Yay! Now you can get all your work done and bill your hours.
That's right. Listen up, folks who are listening to the US Law podcast. She never stops.
She never stops. At the beach, at her house, playing mahjong. She goes. Nichole, one thing I like about litigation, and I feel like this might be even more so for medical malpractice specifically, is learning different things. Obviously, I didn't go to medical school. I assume you did not either. What are some of the interesting medical aspects that maybe you've learned, becomes a pseudo expert in, despite not having gone to medical school?
So it's interesting that you say that, because I feel like we learn enough to be dangerous, but not enough to actually know what we're doing, right? Like we could never practice. But I find all of it very fascinating. And I feel like each case you're learning something a little bit different, whether it be, what signs and symptoms might lead to osteomyelitis, or what you should be looking for when determining whether or not someone has cancer, or what is specifically on the diagnostic imaging. So I feel like each case is a little bit different, and it brings its own challenges.
Have you had to apply any of that knowledge in real life?
I have not had to apply it in real life, but I do use it when my mom goes to the doctor to make sure that I'm looking up the physicians, because here in Florida, that's public record. So you can see if they've been disciplined, what their board specialties are they still in residency, for instance? And so I definitely use that information to guide my mom's care, my grandmother as well, who's about to be 93, believe it or not.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Is she
I'm
in good
sure-
health?
She is. She still is walking around. She goes to my son's hockey games and bangs on the glass.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like the best thing ever. My son gets a kick out of it, and he doesn't realize that it's unusual to have a great grandma at his games. So,
No, that's
You'll have to get a
awesome.
video of that and show us. That sounds great.
yeah.
I'm sure, I feel like with my little bit of medical knowledge I learned from reviewing people's medical records or radiology or labs, I'm a little annoying to my PCP, I would guess, when you get those lab results back and start throwing around the technical terms for things. I think she rolls her eyes at me when I walk out of the room, but
I don't have to go to a PCP anymore because, since I have reviewed so many medical records, I'm in fact a doctor now. So I don't have one anymore. Nichole, tell us. We
Ordering your
always,
own tests as well, yeah?
exactly, 100%. No, I don't have to order the tests, as a physician, I can just tell, oh, cholesterol seems high today. Nicole, we always ask our guests to bring a hot topic that they want to discuss with us, something that's maybe relative to your practice or that's really stressing you out, keeping you up at night, something that's going on in your world. So I hope you brought us something, and I hope Jessica and I can focus on this, I assume, complex medical topic.
Well, I did bring you something. I think you guys are more than able and capable women who can talk about this. And it's something that I touched on a little bit in the beginning. And that is what we're seeing currently is doctor shortages. I'm sure you've noticed, probably even in going to the physician yourselves, that there are more NPs, nurse practitioners, and PAs who are providing more family care in a more of a traditional role that doctors used to fill. Part of that is related to staffing shortages. And I think we're going to see an increase with regard to that due to, and I mean no politics by this, but because there's now going to be a cap on grad loans, it's going to impact specifically people who are going for medical degrees, because typically it costs anywhere from 250 to 300,000 in order to get through med school, and it's getting capped at 200. So, it'll be interesting to see, do we ramp up having even more nurse practitioners and PAs? What are the risks that are associated with that? And how do we kind of mitigate those risks to ensure everyone's getting the healthcare that they need? So that's kind of my hot topic for today.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And yes, I've seen it for sure here, calling a specialist and trying to get in, maybe like a some sort of neurology. I mean, you're looking at months and months and months before you can even get in for your initial eval.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's interesting too, because this has been going on. I looked at some of the data just for our purposes today. I looked at the National Practitioner Databank, and that really is where all settlements need to be reported. And so they're looking at data that you can actually put into a chart that relates to both physicians, nurse practitioners, as well as PAs. And what we've seen, at least from 2018 forward, is that as the claims and the adverse events are being decreased as they are reported to doctors, they're actually on the rise as it relates to nurse practitioners and PAs, which seems to be in correlation to the amount of nurse practitioners and PAs coming onto the scene.
That makes sense. And so I don't deal with the data bank at all, but I don't really do any medical malpractice. So PAs and other mid-levels, they are required to report to the data bank as well.
Yeah, so let me give you some information about a nurse practitioner. This might be useful for our audience as well. So depending on the area of the country you're in, there are 3 different types of licenses you could have as a practitioner. You could have one that's full practice. That means you're doing practically everything a physician is doing without necessarily oversight from a physician. You can have a reduced practice where there is some oversight, or you could have a restricted practice. And when looking at the country, I would, just let you know that like the Western states from like Washington over to Iowa, those are full practice states. So that means that the nurse practitioners are evaluating the patients, they're diagnosing, they're providing orders. They're the ones that are interpreting the studies. They're the ones managing and initiating the treatments. Whereas some of the other states
prescribe, is there any restrictions on prescribing for those folks?
No, they can prescribe controlled medications.
Wow.
So you in Alabama are actually in a reduced practice state, so there still is some oversight as it relates to the nurse practitioners. And here in Florida, we're actually a restricted practice state, which means that there needs to be some physician oversight. But interestingly, there is a statute that allows autonomous practice by an advanced nurse practitioner, so long as they have 5 years without discipline, and they practiced 5 years previously. I think it's 3,000 clinical practice hours under a physician. So it's interesting. The dynamic between the restrictions and the the lack of restrictions across the country.
Which one dominates, Nichole? Restricted?
No,
Uh,
no,
Or
it's
the
a
other.
full practice. Or non-restricted, right? So to be honest with you, the green states are the non-restricted, and those actually are found on the American Association of Nurse Practitioners. They have a whole map of the U.S. And I would say, based on this map, a good majority are actually full practice, which means it's both a benefit, right, as well
yeah.
as it could have risk. So the benefits are, if we have the staffing shortage as it relates to doctors, it allows people to be seen by a nurse practitioner who can still then order diagnostic tests and images that are needed, maybe in more rural areas where it might be harder to get a physician in to see the patient. So it's providing the patient opportunities that might not otherwise exist. That's the pros anyway.
Did you ever consider a career in medicine?
I didn't. You know what? It's funny. So, interesting story, a little sad, but it turns out with a happy ending. My mom had stage 4 throat cancer when I was in law school. And that necessitated her needing a trach for a little while in order so that when the swelling in her neck was too high, she could still breathe. I am not good at that stuff. And so they were trying to, mind you, she's got stage 4 cancer. She's in the hospital. And the nurse is having to worry about me because I'm about to faint as they try to teach me how to clean this trach. So no part of me can ever be a doctor. I like just pretending. But
How's your mom now?
she's fine. She is over 20 years in recovery. So remission, I guess, is the appropriate word. But yeah, so she's doing great.
Awesome.
That's
Glad to hear that.
awesome.
And I completely agree. I think in my younger years, I was a little more apt to that kind of stuff. But the older I've gotten, the more squeamish I feel like I've gotten. So it was definitely never in the cards for me either.
Gosh, it's so funny. I'm not at all squeamish about things. I don't know. Nichole, how in your practice does that rear its head?
I will tell you, I can look. So I started my career initially doing a lot of skilled nursing facility cases. So you see a
Okay.
lot of wounds, and you see a lot of wounds in medical malpractice too. And I think if you can see those and kind of make your way through it, it's not as bad. The one thing that makes me squeamish is eyes. So there was one case where we had a person who scratched out their eyes, and I could not look at those photos.
So, I think most of our listeners at this point know I deal mostly in trucks. And
No
so,
eyeballs.
right. So I'm generally speaking, if I can, I'm on scene as quick as I can. And so sometimes that means that I'm there with a body, or I'm there with a body part, or pretty gruesome injuries. But something about like the idea of sores in a assisted living or skilled nursing or anything like that, like I'm not squeamish. I can see an arm on the side of the road and be fine. I've seen brain all over things, but a sore makes me no, 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 no.
Yeah, I still remember my very first autopsy photos that I ever saw. I mean, it's just not something that when you go to law school, you really even think that that's going to become a regular part of your day. It's always hard when we have interns or law students come in. I kind of forget because I've done it so much, and I have to remind myself that no one's expecting to see this naked dead body on this table. We need to kind of lead people into it. And I think that's helpful when you think about trial and going to jurors who don't have that experience that we so luckily have now.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Right. And Nichole, you've got such like I don't know, a calming presence, a delicate touch. I feel like that's probably the easiest part of your med mal trials, is giving it to the jury in a way that they can comprehend without getting the heebie-jeebies like I do.
Yeah, I mean, you try not to show those really bad photos, right?
Yeah,
and argue
of
that they're
course.
prejudicial, but I mean, not all, you're not going to keep them all out.
Yeah.
You do your best to restrict them. That's for sure.
Pam, bringing up your personality and your presence, I think, is a good segue into something I wanted to bring up, Nichole, at the Women's Connection in Quebec City this last summer. You helped facilitate a session on the DISC personality assessment, and Pam has dropped off this podcast, so we will hope that she listens to this so she can learn about this. Tell us a little bit about this personality assessment, what your experience with it's been, how you've used it in practice, and then we can diagnose Pam while she's not here.
That sounds like a plan. Well, actually, it was, really interesting learning about the different communication styles. And one of the things that I went in thinking is, this is someone's personality. And what I learned is it's not your personality per se, but how you communicate to others and how you like to receive information. And so I thought it was, if you take it along those veins and you're looking at the team members who work with you, your colleagues and your assistants, it really helps you identify what it is that they're looking for and the information they need to help them either do their job or make the decisions they need to make as well, which I thought it was fascinating.
And I saw that the different, I guess, what would you call them? Categories, D for dominant, and they're generally described as doers, not talkers. I, inspiring, these are talkers, especially around entertaining topics. S for supportive, they are doers and not talkers. And then conscientious, talkers, especially around deficiencies. Tell us first, what is your category?
I am definitely red dominant.
And what does that mean as it relates to what you want, how you want to be communicated to and how you like to communicate?
So those who are in this category like the information to come to them in small bites, a synopsis. I like people to come to me with not just a problem, but the solution to that problem, so we can try and figure out the best way to move forward. I do not like when someone comes to me and they just have a question, they haven't tried to do any research on their own. And like I said, I'm pretty direct, so I enjoy and appreciate when someone is direct with me.
And I'm C, conscientious, despite a lot of people thinking I would be dominant. Surprise, I'm not. And when I read the little descriptions, it's just so spot on. It's approaching life from a perspective of caution, being very organized. I also really like that under stress, they can become controlling and picky. And man, is that not true? Being able to spot every single imperfection. Maybe I get a brief and I can't even look at the case law, the argument, the authority. I am looking at the size of the font and the margins, and does everything look good?
Yeah.
So I'm the same way. I'll send it back to my associate and say, justify the text, and then send it back to me.
I can't even look at this.
Yeah.
What do we think Pam would be, Nichole?
Oh, this is great fun.
This is great fun.
We didn't think you were going to be here. We were going to diagnose you when you fell off, but.
Oh, great. Lovely.
When people come to you, how would you prefer that they provide you information?
As quick as they can.
And are you more similar to Jessica or me in terms of, are you nitpicking things? Are you, trying to get an overarching thing and be done with it quickly? Do you take more time?
I think whatever the second description Jessica did, not dominant, the next one. The I, maybe?
Inspiring, talkers, especially around entertaining topics.
Yeah, I think that's me.
I'll tell you, one of the challenges is you talk too much. Would you agree?
Don't know. You're the ones diagnosing me. What do you think, Jessica? Do I talk too much?
It says that you love entertaining others and being entertained. They enjoy being popular and influencing and motivating others.
I mean, that's me.
I mean, this was a really fun activity that we did in this session. It encouraged a lot of good discussion. I don't remember the website, Nicole. Do you have it?
I do not have it on me, and I have my email closed. But if you Google DISC assessment, it should come up.
And I recommend everyone who's listening, all 3 or 4 of you, take the assessment, read about it, but also I sent it to a couple of my associates and to some of my colleagues. It's really just interesting, if nothing else. But it is nice to be able to tell people, hey, I appreciate that you're bringing me this information. Here's how I receive it, how I would better receive it. And I think it can be something that we can all use to kind of, I was going to say increase our efficiency, which tells you really which part I go to.
Nichole, what's on the hopper this summer for you guys? Well, it's almost done, but still.
So in my family, my daughter just started her first sport ever, and it's color guard. So she is now waving flags. She has band camp next week, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. I mean, that's a pretty intense day, I'm thinking. And then my son he does hockey, and he's getting ready to take the SAT. So things are starting to get real in my house. How about you guys?
Oh my goodness. We are in very different life positions. Jessica and I have little ones. So I just went shopping for uniforms. We're starting first grade. Praise the Lord for uniforms. If I have to argue with my 6-year-old about what shirt she's going to wear one more day, I will beat my head against the wall. So we're kind of rounding out the summer with final trips and camps and things like that. We start school early. It's like August the 6th or something along those lines.
We don't start school till like August 18th, and getting all of the camps and childcare scheduled throughout the rest of the summer when people are requesting depositions out of town is going to cause me to pull my hair out. So I'm excited to get them back into school for that reason. I'm like Pam, I've got one going into 2nd grade and then one going into kindergarten, but we're at a Montessori style school, so they encourage the kids wear whatever they want. They would love for them to use their creativity and their personality, which is very hard for me to allow them out of the house and some of the items that they select. But I feel like it goes in phases. Every couple days there will be big fights, and then every other day it's like, Mom, will you get me dressed? And I 100% will. Here you go. This is what you're wearing.
Well, my daughter keeps complaining that there's this one girl in her class, and she's like, Mom, she always looks so cute. And I'm like, you have all of those cute clothes just like she has, but you want to wear athletic shorts and a t-shirt every day. And I can't make you cute like that.
Anyway, Nicole, luckily for you, you're out of that.
Oh, no, but let me tell you what's coming for you. That would be driving. So my son gets his license on his 16th birthday, which is less than a month from today. And the increase in insurance is probably just about what you're spending on those clothes.
No.
Per month.
Oh, woof.
I know.
I can only imagine, and that gives me anxiety. Are you one of the parents who's actively teaching, training the driving? Because I don't think I'll be allowed to do that when my kids need to start learning.
So my son is very close with me. So he and I do really well in the car. He and his dad, not so much, but to round out the last of his practicing, because he's taking his test in a couple of weeks, we used a driving instructor. And then my son immediately came home and told me I was wrong. I was doing it all wrong. I didn't know how to park. And how dare I teach him this way? So that's what's on the horizon for you guys.
Great, lovely. This sounds awesome.
Are either of your kids interested in being lawyers, going to law school, anything like that?
No, my daughter wants to either be a hairdresser or a traveling nurse. Very different.
Yes.
And my son
probably do both.
I mean, that's what I think. And then my son wants to do something either cybersecurity, computer science. He's a math and science kid. He can't spell his way out of a box, no lie.
Love that. Well, that's exactly the industry to be in right now.
Yeah.
My 7-year-old, who is of average to below average height, on his list is being an NBA player or a chef.
Aw.
I know. And he's like, which one do you think I should be, an NBA player or a chef? I was like, honey, I think either would be wonderful. You get out there and you practice, buddy.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Well, y'all are sweet moms. My child does not have an option. She will become a pediatric dentist. I'm trying to set her up for success, and so she will play golf. Nichole, I know you do too. She will play golf, and she will do a study abroad, and she will be a pediatric dentist. That's her path in life.
And does she want to do that?
No. She wants to be a teacher, and she wants to take horse riding lessons, and she probably would live with me until she died if she could. I mean, she doesn't want to leave. So but obviously, I mean, she's 6 years old. She's not thinking about study abroad, but this is her path. That is her path, ladies.
It's written in the stars.
Mm-hmm. And remember, I'm not dominant.
Yeah. No. Would never.
No.
Well, everyone, it's been a lovely podcast. Another great episode of the US Law Live podcast, the official podcast of US Law Network. We've had a wonderful guest, Nichole Koford from Wicker Smith. Thank you so much for being with us, Nichole. We hope that you have a wonderful week. Pam, good luck at the beach. I hope you can handle the stress.
Thank you. It'll be tough, but I think I can make it through.
All right.
Nichole, thanks a bunch.
Thank you. Have a great day. Have a margarita for me, will you?
Absolutely. Don't tell me twice.
Say no more.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.